Towering high above the vast altiplano of the Bolivian Andes in South America stands a mountain some have called an Andean Olympus. Throughout ages, this mountain has been worshipped as the guardian of lands around it, and it was through these lands that empires traded and traveled. From the fertile, cloud-shrouded lowlands to the harsh, arid, high plateaus. And now we retrace these ancient steps, embarking on a long climb from the tropical jungles up the Choro Trail, and then continue on in an attempt to summit the more than 6,000-meter peak of Huayna Potosi in this episode of Extreme Treks. Out here, it's nature's game. And the elements are our mirror.
This is unbelievable.
From the heart of deep jungles.
This is a tough mountain, man.
To the thin air above us.
And then you look up and you see this, and it's amazing.
Through sun-baked sands, amongst the history and cultures of these lands.
Oh, yeah.
We walk. Each step revealing a little more of this world around us.
And we can see everything.
I'm Ryan Pyle. Join me for these Extreme Treks. The highland plateaus of Bolivia, vast, empty expanses, lying at over 4,000 meters above sea level. The air is thin here, and it's a tough place to survive. Yet nestled into the Chuquiago Marca Valley, and sprawling up and out into neighboring highlands, the largest metropolitan area of Bolivia continues to grow in the province of La Paz.
I like very much my own city. Of course, very few people hate their own city, but I like the city even in its chaos, in its awful growing. La Paz is beautiful in terms of a crazy landscape. It should have never been built over here. There are 200 rivers under the ground, just in the center of the city. It's high and there's not so much oxygen, and therefore, if you are old, you are not in the best way. When I was a child, Bolivia had 3 million inhabitants, and there were very few cars. Things were very, very pleasant those days.
And we've arrived in this sprawling city before heading to the nearby Yungas valleys and the Choro Trail.
I have seen lots of change. La Paz is a city that has become very big in the last years because there's a big immigration from the people from the country into this city.
So much urban migration has strained the city's services and planning. Consequently, La Paz has terrible traffic congestion. One notable feature of the modern La Paz skyline is the newly installed Mi Teleférico cable car system, designed to ease some of the city's transportation woes. We've decided to take a ride on it to check out the city from above.
La Paz is famous for having really bad traffic, but here we're just kind of above it all, and we've got these incredible views as well.
Much of the urban expansion has been in the growth of the adjacent highland city of El Alto, spread over the plateau above La Paz City. Arriving out of the cable car, the city hum rises up through the earthen-colored spread of unpainted brick and cement buildings stretched out across the wide valley below. But we're not here just to admire the view. We've also come to meet Daniel, who will be our guide for the upcoming adventure on the Choro Trail.
Daniel.
Ryan.
Great to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome to La Paz.
Your hometown?
My hometown. I was born and raised here.
Yeah? This is beautiful. You got the city, you got the snow-capped mountains right in the background.
Basically, we have the Royal Range in front of us.
So Daniel, what are we going to be doing once we leave La Paz? What is the adventure?
The adventure will start in the jungle,
So we're going to go down to like the forest and the jungle, like 1,000 meters above sea level?
almost like this. We're going to explore through the jungle
Yeah.
and then going straight up until 6,090.
Which is almost like 20,000 feet, like up that high.
Yes, like this one.
We look out to the peak of Huayna Potosi, our ambitious final destination.
And right now in La Paz, we're like in the middle,
We are in between.
in between. And you're going to lead me on this great adventure.
I'm going to show a little bit of this and that, but first I want to show a little bit of my city.
I would love to see La Paz.
Let me show you.
Okay, I'm following.
La Paz has a lively street market culture, and Daniel is keen to introduce me to it.
These traditional markets start like from the colonial time. We're talking about more like 400 years ago. The people were selling in the streets, exchanging products. Now we introduce the money, so they are bargaining and trading, selling, buying, everything.
It's fantastic.
Walking through these vibrant market alleyways, we're fully immersed in the buzz of inner city street life. Daniel explains to me some of the rich history of La Paz and how it was founded. As in many South American countries, the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors marked a dramatic turn for people here. And in 1548, the city of Our Lady of the Peace, shortened to La Paz, was founded on an older indigenous settlement.
La Paz is a city that you have to see using your hands. You have to look like this or like this in order to avoid some awful things that are there. And then you find beautiful things. For instance, if you are in the main square of La Paz, if you're in the right corner, you don't see the huge building that they are building right now behind the government palace. We have the smallest main square of South America, and we have the smallest government palace of South America. And this is something from what we could be proud.
Looking at La Paz today, I'm interested to learn more about the Incan people who inhabited these areas at the time of the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century. Who were these people, and what happened to them?
A country that is been once conquered by others, a country that has several ethnical groups, has its own dynamics, which is very complicated. 480 years of living together don't go just like that.
The Incan Empire was the last and largest in a series of pre-Columbian South American empires. Rising in Peru in the 13th century, it built on pre-existing networks down much of the Andes until the Spanish arrived in the 16th century and put an end to Incan rule.
The Spaniards said the people from here lived like beggars, but they died like kings because they were buried, among others, with all their jewelry. And even today, among the very simple people, somebody, when he dies, he will be very, very properly dressed. This shows you that there are certain aspects and beliefs that are still there.
Bolivia is otherworldly. And it's already just daunting sitting here out of breath at this high altitude lake, looking at Huayna Potosi behind me, wondering how the hell we're gonna get up that mountain. We'll see it again in like 7 or 10 days, and then we'll climb it. It definitely sets the tone for the rest of the trip, being able to see the summit and see the end of the trip on day one.
Our trek will begin in the lowland town of Chiro and follow the ancient Choro Trail up through the lush cloud forest of the Yungas valleys. After a gradual 4-day climb, we arrive at the dry highland base of Huayna Potosi Mountain. From there, the real ascent begins, and we'll eventually leave in the dead of night for a glacial ice climb in an attempt to reach its more than 6,000-meter summit.
Just arrived here in Chiro, which is going to be our launch town for the Choro Trek, which is going to take us from where we are now, kind of in the jungles of Bolivia, back up to the glacier, back up into the high plateau, which can be incredible. And we're just packing everything up and we're getting ready for our donkeys.
Our team packs up under the watchful eye of our cook, Francisca, who knows exactly how to load up the donkeys. In pre-Incan times, the only beast of burden were llamas and alpacas, but the lowland environments were too hot and humid for these animals. However, with the Spanish conquistadors also came the arrival of horses and donkeys.
It's on top. This is one of our donkeys, and this is how we're going to be moving our gear up through the jungles where we are now, up into the highlands and the high plateau.
All packed up, it's time to get moving, and we begin our walk following the single-track footpaths up the hill.
These paths are very ancient paths. The Incas used them and improved them. But these kind of paths surely existed before the Incas were there.
And as we continue our way out of Chiro, it isn't long before we come upon reminders of this trail's former use.
These were like Inca houses. They used to build it for storage most of the food when they produce here in the jungle. And then when the winter come, they're going to transport it. They used to transport it to the Andean region. For example, the Coca leaves. They used to produce it here, the storage here, and then take it to the Andean region.
So how old are these buildings, you think?
We're talking about like 1,300 after Christ.
So like more than 700 years old.
Yes, exactly.
That's amazing.
So basically the nature is taking over this construction. The Inca culture was one of the richest and also one of the greatest empires here in South America. The basic use of these trails was for exchange some products. Most of these cultures used to live in higher lands in the Andean region.
And we walk on through the afternoon towards those higher regions.
Bolivia is just a gem. The diversity is just amazing. And today we walked a couple hours and we're just surrounded by this lush green environment. We're surrounded by the sights and the sounds and the insects and the animals and the rain, and we're back in the elements again.
And soon these elements let themselves be known. Clouds billow against the valley walls, the humidity increases, the heavens open up, and we walk the rest of the day in a downpour. A real welcome to the stark contrast these lowlands hold compared to the dry highlands.
The first 3 days, we're walking through a national park that is well known as a cloud or rainy forest. Even the name, it gives you a hint about like how it's going to be.
For the short time we've been here in Bolivia, it really has just been a feast for the senses. There's really nowhere else in the world where you can trek and hike from such a low altitude where we are now here in the jungles back up onto a high plateau and then up onto a glacial mountain, which is what we're going to be trying to do.
Morning sunlight stirs the air and clouds dance on the peaks above the forest. As we follow the valley uphill, the constant cascade of water echoes up from the ravine below. This river has carved this valley steeply, and its bed is sunk deep in these forested valley walls. And for the most part, this river marks our route up the valley. There are several points at which we must cross, and the further from Chiro we trek, the further into disrepair the bridges fall. This one gave us plenty of room to admire the view down to the rushing water below. I feel as if the few remaining wooden boards could give way at any moment. Yet even in these remote, seemingly neglected reaches, ancient paving stones guide us on our way.
The area of the Yungas was a fascinating place because it was quite rich, but it was very difficult. Before there was penicillin, before there was sulfur, it was a very unhealthy area. That's why there was not so much population there. Surely the Incas were there, but surely their settlements were very tiny.
We arrive at tonight's encampment, tucked into a nook in a ridgeline, much like the one we had left this morning. No one living here to appreciate the luxurious views all around.
The Choro Trek is amazing. It's supposed to be one of the most popular treks you can do in Bolivia, and we haven't seen anyone. So it goes to tell you that there's not a lot of people visiting Bolivia, and I have no idea why. Bolivia is just full of natural beauty, and we haven't even seen that much yet.
Morning, with an overcast and cool sky to greet us. We get moving, and although the path generally ascends, we often need to make our way down to cross the rivers that rush through the valleys below. The bridges often gather small communities around them, but there are few people to be seen as we pass through. The bridges so far have been in disrepair, and we cross them one person at a time. But this bridge seems in good shape, so we cross it quite casually, a little too casually perhaps. Rotten planking, and Daniel's foot and leg went straight through it.
But that was like really dangerous.
So does it happen often that the wood breaks on these bridges?
Yes, that's why they recommend to cross it one by one.
Oh, and we were side by side.
Exactly.
Yeah, always more dangerous.
Uh-huh.
So in the future, we need to make sure we only go one person at a time on the bridge.
One by one.
This bridge looks super stable, though, compared to the ones we did yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
The ones we did yesterday had no wood on them.
It was a small incident, but enough to keep us on our toes.
So look, I've heard that when you need some pain to go away and you need an extra boost, you chew some coca leaves.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, there's one thing interesting, especially in that area where you have a produce which was very important in ancient days and in our days, which are coca leaves. The first chronist of the Spaniards, Cieza de León, he says these people are always chewing some herbs. And in the highlands, they chew coca leaves.
You need a lot, huh? Are you gonna put all those?
Yeah.
And it'll make the pain go away?
It relieves. Like basically, it boosts you more, and you don't feel the tiredness or some pain.
Chewing coca was something that existed very, very early in this part of the world.
I feel really bad you fell through the bridge. I don't know how to make it up to you. Can I give you some more coca leaves?
I'm already done, but
Okay.
fine.
Let's see if you can still walk, and then we'll see if we can get back on the trail.
Thankfully, it's nothing serious, and we're again walking, but it's a wake-up call to not get too complacent, even with seemingly simple obstacles.
We're just walking through these climatic zones today, and we started off down at a river, and we're just going up and up and up. And right now, the shrubbery and the jungle is still really evident and alive and full and lush. And as we keep going up, it's just gonna die away, and eventually we'll be above the tree line.
As we round a bend in the old path, Daniel takes a moment to point out what is unique about these forests we're walking through.
In other parts of the world, it's not possible to find a tropical jungle above 1,000-meter altitude. But here, we can find it that. It's a microclimate effect created by this surrounded part of the Royal Range.
We came to Bolivia to trek from the jungle to the glacier. And right now, we're kind of in that middle zone. We're above the tree line. We're surrounded by shrubs and small grass. It lets you know that things are really happening. It lets you know that you're kind of going into a whole nother microclimate.
Out of the wrestling plant life of the forest, the ancient stone paving of the trail we walk on is often in good condition.
In pre-Incan times, it just would have been a dirt path, right?
In Brinca, there was already like this.
With the stones.
Yeah, with the
Really?
stones.
Standing upon this stone highway as Daniel describes how it was paved so many centuries ago through these now seemingly remote mountain valleys, I have the feeling of dusting off the memory of these ancient road makers with each footstep.
In the colonial days, by the end of the 18th century, the people in those areas started producing something more than coca: coffee, fruits, and also tobacco.
Well, part of the history of the Choro Trail is that it connects part of the Andean region with the tropical jungles. Pre-Inca culture started to build it, and the Inca culture started to improve it and expand it also, in connecting different towns and regions and exchanging the products. That was the major improvement at that time.
As we close in on our camp for the night, so too the cloud cover closes in on us. And soon, the valley is wearing a thick shroud. Approaching the small village of Chakura, we encounter some local children bringing in their family's flock of sheep for the night. In these areas, it's common for children to help out with the family chores, and I thought I'd lend them a hand shepherding the flock over the bridge into the small township. It turns out not so easy as I first thought. Sheep don't want to cross the bridge, and my efforts seem to backfire. I'm not sure what these young children think of the foreigner who tries to help them, but the young boy knows exactly what to do. He picks up a little lamb and carries it onto the bridge. The doting mother ewe follows him, and the rest of the flock follow her. And I just stand back and leave them to it. And as we make camp for the night, in the fading light, mist continues to billow like smoke up the valley floor. Chakura village lies on the ceiling of a cloud forest, sometimes above the clouds, sometimes below. And as the morning air stirs, we're treated to a spectacular play of clouds and light up the valley.
This village, Chakura, where we are right now, it's not too hot, it's not too cold. It feels like just the perfect climate for me. And this is really the main village on the Choro Trail. It's a high-altitude village. We're up at about 13,000 feet, about 3,500 meters. And it's beautiful, you know, it's a traditional village. There's stone architecture everywhere. And the people here seem to have established themselves as the middlemen in the trading with the highlands and the trading with the lowlands. And also, what makes this village quite special is that Francisca, our cook, is from this village.
Yo soy de aquí de comunidad Chakura y aquí yo he nacido, esta es mi casa. Aquí en el pueblo me gusta porque estamos muy bien aquí, más liberados. La paz es más conflictivo. Intercambiar alimentos es, a veces traemos hasta aquí, entonces de aquí podemos llevar papas abajo, bien sacrificado andamos.
In the fresh warmth of this sunlit morning, the verdant pastures and flowering pathways through the stone-cobbled village seem like a paradisical place to live. But the number of derelict houses in the town indicates that the remoteness also has its drawbacks.
Aquí no hay mucho trabajo, también he ido trabajando en Huayna Potosí con el Hugo de Ríos.
Even though she doesn't climb herself, Francisca's many years of experience with climbers attempting to summit Huayna Potosi is a huge encouragement, and she has some words of advice for us.
Sí, no se preocupen. El que come sopa siempre hace cumbre, pero el que no no come mucha sopa, no, siempre algunos fracasan.
Although there's plenty of sunshine, the heights above us are swirling in clouds.
From here, it's straight up. The main danger here will be not being prepared to the weather. You cannot trust in the forecast here.
As we set off for the heights of the Altiplano, we pass families putting out their flocks to graze for the day on the hillsides above the town.
I think that the most special thing of Bolivia is the emptiness. And you have many places where you see very, very few people.
Augustine's words ring true. For the rest of the day, we see no other people. And before long, we can't see much of anything at all.
When I am in an area that's completely empty and it starts raining and pouring, it's better than a Wagner opera. It's done by nature. It's a fantastic spectacle.
In the dim, diffuse spread of mid-afternoon light, we arrive out of the valleys to the desolate, open stretches of the Altiplano.
I think that the landscape that surrounds the mountains in Bolivia are sad landscapes. I think that we have sad music, and I don't think being sad is a bad thing. Being happy is overrated. There are some other kinds of enjoyment, and these other kinds of enjoyment are related to not being unhappy, but being melancholic. Being happy of being sad. And if you are in the mountains of Bolivia, you immediately get emotional because of this very harsh landscape and because of this wind that really cuts your face.
We woke up this morning and we knew today was going to be tough. We knew today was going to be ruthless, but we just had no idea of how kind of intense it would be. And now I'm sitting here totally shattered and in a complete whiteout. When the wind and the weather changes, life gets really uncomfortable very quickly. And I think that's going to be a timely lesson, because Huayna Potosi, this massive mountain, is no joke.
Camping in the shadow of our upcoming challenge, Francisca's good sense of humor and her famous soup is the most heartening pick-me-up imaginable.
No, not so much. But your soup is very good. Quinoa soup. And after she said the thing about the summit, I have to eat all her soup.
Sí, porque es verdad, no es mentira.
I believe it. So good. She's the queen of soups.
Warmed and revived by the soup, we take rest for the night, wondering if we'll even be able to see the mountain tomorrow. Waking to scattered blue sky, the weather gods seem to grace us in our ambitions to climb Huayna Potosi.
When the Spaniards of the 17th and 16th century asked to the locals what was the meaning of that mountain for them, they said that was the place where the gods live. So it was a kind of Andean Olympus.
Buttressed by massive shoulders of rock, this mountain is a sight to behold, and the thought of assailing its peak more than a little daunting.
We're here. We made it. And yeah, it's about to begin. Huayna Potosi is right behind me. If everything goes well, we'll be on the summit tomorrow morning at sunrise. It's going to be an epic adventure no matter what happens, and it all starts right now.
Situated quite close to La Paz and El Alto, there are a fair number of climbers who attempt Huayna Potosi's summit, and so the path is well trodden and easy to follow. Step by step we climb until we're looking down upon clouds and the wide spread of the landscape below.
The walking so far has been pretty rough up at a high altitude. And we're now in this kind of rocky moraine. Apparently a glacier used to be down here, and we're heading up towards high camp.
And we soon climb high enough to reach the retreating glacier, which flows down into the valley beside us as we ascend. As the climb becomes more precipitous, we don our helmets. The aim of today's climb is to make it to high camp, where we will rest before our midnight summit attempt. The pace of our team slows as the altitude and thin air begin to take effect. The body needs to work harder to function up here. With the large number of climbers attempting Huayna Potosi, the high camp has some semi-permanent huts to shelter and rest in. And it's at the high camp that we meet Luis, an expert alpine guide who will lead our team to the summit.
I am from Bolivia. I'm born in the lowlands. But when I was in the university, one lady, she introduced me in the mountaineering. My first time, I suffer a lot here. But the sunrise is, I'm falling in love with the sunrise. But the mountain changed my life, huh?
Yeah.
No, it's the mountain changed the life of not only me, also many people. I think it changed the life of many people, mountains.
And many of those people keep coming back. For whatever it is that mountains provide, Here, they treat it with reverence, and as such, a small ceremony is conducted for good fortune and safe passage on our summit attempt tomorrow.
With good luck tomorrow.
Okay.
Que sea una buena ascensión.
It's going to be a really good ascension to the summit.
Yep.
Y decir también cómo hemos venido cada uno de
At the same
nosotros.
time that we arrive here, that we return safe also to our homes.
Okay.
Going to put like another schnapps, but it's a Bolivian traditional singani.
Ascensión para mañana. Salud.
So,
We're pouring a little bit of the local Bolivian
singani.
Singani to Mother Earth, and then take a little for ourselves. So here we go.
Breathe it. Don't swallow it. It's like a good whiskey.
We should have done this before we crossed all the bridges.
That's true.
We each take turns in giving our little offering and asking for the mountain's favor.
For the apples, for the Pachamama.
And for you.
Sister.
Not bad, huh?
Yeah, no, so tasty.
My dream is to climb Huayna Potosi.
Now, this is the most important, no? Follow the dreams.
Follow the dreams. Yeah. When will we go up the mountain, do you think?
We start walking at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
It's 4 to 6 hours. Okay, we need to go up. Remember, the top is the half part of the way.
Halfway.
Half.
Okay.
Another halfway is
Going down.
going down.
Right.
And the top is optional.
Coming back safe is the most important thing.
Yeah, the summit is... Stay there. Yeah?
Right.
It's something is necessarily recognized. No? Yeah?
Okay.
Okay?
Well, we'll see you for breakfast at 1 a.m.
Yeah. I see it too, I'm sure.
With Lewis's wise words not to let emotions and ambitions cloud good judgment, we take rest. But there's still no guaranteeing the weather tomorrow will cooperate. Lying there trying to sleep, Lewis's words stay with me.
Don't be afraid about the apneas. Apneas is when in the middle of the night you wake up like a runner. This is very normal. It's part of the altitude.
I hardly sleep at all, and before I know it, it's the call to get up.
It's about 1:30 in the morning. We're about to begin our summit attempt of Huayna Potosi. Okay, this is it. We're at the start of the glacier. Now it's time to put on the crampons, and then we're gonna begin climbing. Jesus, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, super.
Okay.
First time, I will help you to install the crampons in
Okay.
your boots, and after that, I will connect it with the rope.
Great.
Because we walk in a glacier,
Yeah.
and the glacier is like a woman, unpredictable. Yeah?
It's like a woman, it's unpredictable.
Unpredictable.
How's that?
And the first on the front.
First on the front. This is one of the more important parts of the day, getting the crampons right, because we're going to be on the ice for the next, what,
Yeah, the most
7 to 10 hours?
check is completely stable, okay?
All good.
Yeah. Super. Be ready.
Great.
We're all set,
Okay, how to
word
walk
is given,
glacier.
and it's time to climb.
Everything is dark. The darkness changes all the situation. You don't have any point of reference.
Only pinpricks of torchlight punctuate the cold blackness that we move through.
Walk warm, no hot. We start with all the gear ready, including the down jacket. The most important is keep the communication. Say it's too hot, okay? We make a break, we remove one layer.
After a half an hour or so of walking with no wind, we're warm enough to shed a layer of clothing. We're relying on movement to keep us warm.
The dancing, by the way. It's good to warm up a little.
We are going in direction of La Pala Chica, the first technical part.
Okay.
Yeah? From here we can start to see the light of the Alto City. The speed, the first part
Yeah.
is great.
Okay.
But from here to the Pala Chica, we need to reduce a little bit.
Okay.
Okay?
We follow you.
Yeah.
But I have a question.
Yes?
Why? Why do you have a snowboard? Why are you carrying a snowboard to the summit of Huayna Potosi?
Yeah. I hate walk down.
You hate walking down?
Down, yeah.
I hate walking down.
Yeah. The next time we carry another snowboard or skis for you.
But first we gotta get to the top.
Yeah, first time.
Okay.
Up we climb as the lights of Alto City come more and more into view in the distance, shimmering through the high altitude air. We soon arrive at the first technical part of the climb. I wait below while Luis ascends.
We're doing it. It's amazing. We're on the ice. It's 2:45 in the morning. We're making great progress. It's beautiful.
This section requires some of the steepest ice climbing I've ever attempted, and my elation at our good progress suddenly gets a reality check by the effort needed to do this sort of climbing at altitude.
Really tough.
It's normal to you feel a little bit frustrated. Your brain thinks the same, but your body don't want to follow your mind.
We're slowly making our way up, and it's getting pretty intense. It's 5 in the morning, and the altitude's really starting to get to me. Each step's just getting a little bit more labored, a little bit more difficult. Hopefully soon we'll get the sun, and that'll kind of rejuvenate me, and we'll be able to continue our push for the summit. But right now, feeling pretty bleak. But just gotta keep moving to stay warm.
I have a very bad relationship with the Mother Earth. The people who more give her offerings suffer more from her. So she's a very nasty goddess. The heights are a very hard place. It's not a place where you really can stay. It's a place where you go and see, and then you have to continue because otherwise you are going to freeze. But it's still something very special to be around there and to go there.
We just cracked the 6,000 meter mark. We got about another hour to get up to the summit, and the sun just came up. Look at that view. It's absolutely breathtaking.
Whenever you are in a place that you know very few people have been there, you really feel yourself in a holy place.
Oh, just 1 second.
Take your time.
No air.
Step and breathe. Almost there. When we pass the rock, we are in the edge.
This is a tough mountain, man. There's no rest. There's no moment to let your guard down. And there's no oxygen.
The most important is always the communication. The communication stops, something's wrong, because you start to walking in a automatic pilot.
You got it, you got it.
The summit now begins to feel so close that it seems reachable. And despite the troubles breathing and the physical fatigue setting in, being able to see it gives us enough encouragement to keep putting one foot over the next towards it. And then, almost unbelievably, there's no more mountain left to climb. The summit of Huayna Potosi is right in front of us.
Woo! Yeah, well done, man.
Oh, I have to say, we've climbed a few mountains, and so far, this is the smallest summit I've ever seen.
Really narrow, no?
It's barely big enough for two people. Look at the view in every direction. It's been such an amazing week here in Bolivia. We left our high camp at about 2 in the morning. We trekked all night in the dark, and it was really intense. Some stages really cold, really windy. This climb is not an easy climb. It's not a straight walk in the park. There are technical aspects of it. There's some vertical sections, and doing them in the dark is really, really nasty. But if you've got great guides like we do, anything is possible. And here we are on the summit, and what a gorgeous view.
Now we go down.
Okay, I'll follow you.
Yeah. So, follow the trust.
Follow the trail?
Yeah.